Sahasrabuddhe, Director General Rambhau, Mhalgi, Prabodhini, and National Vice President of BJP, the chief guest of the inaugural session, to come and deliver his speech. He's part of various think tanks who are doing advocacy to the government of India as well as to BJP. Dr. Vinay Sahasrabuddhe. With a big round of applause.
Dr. Ravi Gupta, the editor, Dr. Ajay Bhushan Pandey, other dignitaries on the dais, and ladies and gentlemen over here. It's all about banking, finances, management, and things like that. And I am somebody who do not belong to these domains. But still I am here basically to learn, and now that I am here to speak with you, share some of my thoughts and ideas as well. Well, the point has really been very effectively made by the previous speaker about the Aadhaar card, which is at the center of the scheme of JAM, literally at the center, because on the one hand it is driving financial inclusion through Janadhan, on the other hand it is also leveraging technological advancement for public administration at large, more particularly for financial inclusion. And therefore, while one should really be welcoming these kinds of initiatives, one thing which occurs to my mind is that with so much of technological advancement and things now reaching at the grassroots levels as well, we are finding innovators in every nook and corner of our country. And people are, there are so many engineering colleges, technological institutions, and many people, especially from the younger generation, are coming out with new innovative ideas, out-of-the-box thinking, so on and so forth. But unfortunately, this country has not been able to evolve a upcoming discipline of knowledge, which is innovation studies. I mean, if there are 100 innovations coming to the fore every year, I don't know whether at least 20% of them reach up to the level of fruition and some kind of a business model really emerges out of that. If that is not happening, I believe it is time to develop some kind of a knowledge discipline which could be described as innovation studies, and also through that promote the necessary ecosystem for bringing innovations to the fruition and ensuring that their benefits are ultimately reaching to the people. This, I believe, is a gap in the present scenario, and all of us need to certainly apply our mind to that. Insofar as financial inclusion is concerned, and this conference is going to deliberate upon that as well, I believe what is the prerequisite of financial inclusion, especially the administration of financial inclusion, it's some kind of emotional or psychological inclusion. People who are given the responsibility of ensuring and spreading the net and bringing so many excluded into the financial system and ensure that financial inclusion reaches to everybody, or say majority of the citizens, especially from the marginal sections, from the deprived and underprivileged classes. The essential prerequisite, I believe, is some kind of emotional or psychological inclusion. Because without that, simply, and that we experienced in the previous regime, that simply by opening branches, you really cannot include people. What is required is reaching up to them, and now what has happened in the last 1 year or last 18 months or so, that so many bank accounts were opened and at least several steps we went ahead on the path of financial inclusion. But to further galvanize our efforts for financial inclusion, as a student of social sciences, I realize that we have to overcome certain fundamental crises which are plaguing our society. One, of course, is the crisis of sensitivity. Unless people who are given the responsibility of financial inclusion are sensitive to the agonies, aspirations, worries of the underprivileged classes, this may not really happen. And there is some shortcoming on that. We also have to, once you are sensitive to the people around you, you naturally develop some kind of a sense of relationship as well. Unless you feel related to the society around, to the underprivileged and marginal sections around, how can you really strive for their financial inclusion? This is not possible. And therefore, along with the crisis of sensitivity, I believe we also need to take care of a crisis of relationship. Once that has happened, I believe we certainly can ensure that people managing the financial inclusion agenda will also develop a sense of ownership towards the society around. All these three things together will lead us to overcoming the crisis of purpose, which I believe in the work culture in which we are living today is missing at various points, at various levels. And therefore, if all these things are taken care of, I believe we certainly can further galvanize the process of financial inclusion. After all, financial inclusion, as what the Prime Minister had famously said, is about economic democracy. We have been experiencing political democracy, but social democracy is still not achieved entirely, and certainly financial democracy is a far cry. I am sure innovations like JAM, using Janadhan via Aadhaar for financial inclusion through mobile connectivity, I am sure is going to take us ahead on the path of financial inclusion, and that perhaps is the surest way of Ek Bharat, Shreshth Bharat. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dr. Sahasrabuddhe. Ek Bharat, Shreshth Bharat, Bharat hoke rahega. And we are all working hard to make that dream a reality.